News Talk 98.9, the roar of Memphis. Tool Talk Radio with Joe and Allan.
Welcome to Tool Talk Radio, coming to you from the Brown Refrigeration Studios. I'm Joe Thorderson with Thor's Hammer, Carpentry and Wood Turning.
I'm Allan Gilbreth with darkoakmedia.com.
And I'm Maximilian. Today, celebrating the musical fruit. That's right. I want to wish you a very happy National Bean Day. And do you want to know the significance of the day, actually? It's actually rather touching.
Okay.
This is the same day that the geneticist Gregor Mendel passed away in 1884, and it's because he used bean plants and pea plants to develop his theories of genetics.
Really?
That is awesome.
Wait, he's a geneticist studying
He was
beans?
a priest.
Yeah, he was
Really?
just an Augustinian monk just studying genetics by using plants.
Well, you know, those monks are not, I mean, they're great cooks. They're great agriculturists. They're great scientists. A lot of astronomers, you know, believe it or not. But really, I'd love to know how you connect the beans and the, wow. Okay. Beans and, okay, never mind. This is sort of throwing me for a loop.
Yep.
A geneticist studying beans.
Yes, because they have very short life cycles, so you can get multiple generations in a very short period of time.
Okay. I guess I just think a geneticist is studying living like an animal or a person. But
No, it could be a plant or algae or anything. It's
Okay.
all got genes.
National Bean Day?
Correct.
Okay. So it's not international. He couldn't get that far with it? Or
No, sorry, Mendel.
okay. So, all right. Well, hey, if you're celebrating National Bean Day, I mean,
Stay away from us, first of all.
Yeah, first of all, keep your distance. But you know, Allan, this is a great day to make some chili or something like that.
Yes.
So, okay. Well, if you're celebrating out there, or Allan's probably got a whole row of bean plants in his backyard. I mean, I have no doubt with that. But
I have an entire black bean patch. Yes.
okay. Well, you can get in touch with us in any case at the Big M Roofing and Remodeling Hotline at 901-683-0989 and let us know how you're celebrating that holiday. Also, you can watch the show on the News Talk 98.9 The Roar's Facebook page and the News Talk 98.9 The Roar's X page. And we also invite you, while you're over on social media, to go to the Tool Talk Radio Facebook page and check out the post that we punctually got up there. I didn't wait till the middle of the show, Allan.
All right.
I've got the must-have item of the week, which is actually a combination duo. And if you want to know what that means, just go look at the picture. It's a pretty good picture. And also, what we're going to be discussing shortly in Great Moments in Building History, we're going to discuss the Pantheon in Rome, not to be confused with the Parthenon in Greece, which is its own thing. But
Rome stole everything from Greece. Don't worry.
Yeah, the one of the most miraculous things you could say about the Pantheon is it's basically still intact. It's functional. I mean, 2,000 years later, that thing's rocking, and there's no end in sight for that baby. So
It's a good thing.
okay, so and we're going to flip the script a little bit because in the second hour of the show, we got our good buddy Larry Brown with Brown Refrigeration coming in. And it's funny, I've got a whole checklist of questions because, you know, he doesn't get in as often as he should. And now we're coming into that time of the year where, you know, we have to think about winterizing. We have to think about all sorts of things that affect your HVAC system. So if you got any questions about that, this is the day to call or text. So Larry will be in the second hour. So with that in mind, we're going to do our great moments in building history in the first hour of the show. Also, I want to announce here on the air, I think we all were in agreement on this. Last week we said we were going to announce the winner of the naming contest for that giant beaver that the Bartlett police caught a couple weeks ago. Boy, are we milking this story. And we thought Keith had the best name. He named him Iron Tooth.
Yep.
I don't know. That's pretty good. I did like
Very superhero.
What was Agent 732's name? Something whatever. It was good.
What,
Beaver Nightingale.
Beaver Nightingale. But since Agent 732 is such an integral part of the show, I feel like that would have been favoritism. So, but Iron Tooth. So Keith, congratulations. I don't know what you win other than bragging rights.
You won bragging rights.
But we like that. And speaking of flipping the script, we're going to get to Allan's Weekend Review pretty quick here because we want to, this one is intriguing. And I'm not even going to tease it because you're going to get to that soon. And then, later in the show, I have an on-air confession / Tool Talk Radio quick tip. You know, I'm sort of ashamed to admit that I learned, well, I mean, it's not that I did anything wrong. It's that I waited too long to do something right. Is that a confession? So,
that works.
It almost sounds like the name of a song. Okay. And there's a lot more, and we're not teasing anymore because, what's the point? So, but Allan, let's get to it, man.
Oh, the humanity.
Oh, you did your deafening system. Okay. All right. Thanks, Mac. So, Allan's Week in Review. Of course, this is the part of the show where we find out what Allan did this week because it's never the same.
No.
And can you just tell me the exact title that you said in our group chat? Because this one, and folks, I don't know what he's. I didn't get any preparation on this. I don't really know what this is, so I'm going to be learning along with you. But
I said we need to do a segment on hot mud versus cold mud.
Okay. All right. Yeah.
Okay. So
hot mud versus cold mud.
Hot mud versus cold mud.
All
so
right.
It's your favorite topic in the whole world, Joe. It's sheetrock.
Yeah.
Welcome to sheetrocking. So I go to the big box store. And I wander around, look at a few things. They still got some of the leftover gift packs and stuff in the aisleways. So I go through all that. And I get back to the sheetrock department. And there is, of course, the big giant tubs of pre-mixed mud, the smaller tubs, and then the bags.
And it's funny, you almost always get you mix it yourself, basically, right?
What?
Generally?
Most of the time.
Yeah.
Most of the time. It depends on the job. And that is exactly the point right there, Joe.
Okay.
Because there were 3 people standing there utterly confused.
And you're always happy to get in the middle of that, right?
So I walk over, I wheel my little basket over, I grab my bag of 90-minute easy sand hot mud. And now, why is it called, all right, 1, it's joint compound.
Right.
For those of you who are listening,
mud is the slang for, spackle, joint compound.
Well, trust me, I, as an 18-year-old, for the first time sent to the store to get a bucket of mud, there's nothing on that shelf labeled mud.
Oh, and you don't know whether you go to the concrete aisle or the, you don't know.
When you don't know, you just don't know.
Right.
So it's joint compound. This is the liquid wall we use to make your walls look nice when we're working on the sheetrock. So you have your cold mud or wet mud, which is your pre-mixed.
Oh,
and
that's what that means?
It is a cold mud because it's going to dry.
Okay.
It's pre-mixed. It's not, if you just leave it in the bucket, it's just going to sit in the bucket. Hot mud is the stuff that comes in the bags with the ratings. So like there's a 5, a 20, a 25, a 40, a 45, a 90. And this is the relative length of time it's going to be before this mud is hard.
Does it? Okay, well, you said dry, because I know you always talk about things curing, not drying.
This is a chemical process in the stuff you mix yourself in the bag.
Okay.
So it is critically important to read the number on that bag.
And it's not a suggestion, folks.
No.
They're not kidding when they say
when it says 5 minutes, it means don't go make a sandwich.
Right, yeah.
Because you're going to come back and have a bucket full of rock.
Mm-hmm.
So basically it goes like this. If you're doing jobs that need a time limit, like you're doing work up on a ladder or something like that, you can go up on the scaffolding, take some water, and 5-minute mud. Hey, you got a small hole, mix up a little batch, put it in there. By the time you get back to it, it'll be sandable, dry enough, cured enough for you to use.
Right.
For your regular mudding and taping, you're going to use the premixed mud and the paper tape.
Sure.
The new tape that you see there with all the holes in it, the little fiberglass tape, is primarily for hot mud.
Oh, I didn't know that because I generally use that. Okay.
Yeah.
Hey, we're going to continue the mud talk. We're going to continue slinging the mud.
Yes.
When we come back here on Tool Talk Radio. It's actually kind of interesting.
There you go.
All right, we're going to take a quick break and we'll be right back.
Tool Talk Radio with Joe and Allan.
My son is several weeks old. He's quite familiar with the sound of power tools.
News Talk 98.9, the roar of Memphis.
That's just good parenting. So put your kid in a shop with deafening power tools, sawdust, everything else. So, yeah.
Yeah.
That'll make him a man. And welcome back to Tool Talk Radio, coming to you from the Brown Refrigeration Studios. I'm Joe Thorderson with Thor's Hammer, Carpentry and Wood Turning, here with my buddy Allan Gilbreth from darkoakmedia.com and our pal Max over there behind the glass. You can call or text us at the Big M Roofing and Remodeling Hotline at 901-683-0989. We also invite you to watch the show on the News Talk 98.9 The Roar's Facebook page or the News Talk 98.9 The Roar's X page. It's basically the same feed, so whatever platform you prefer. And then also, while you're on social media, scoot on over to the Tool Talk Radio Facebook page and check out the posts we've made over there. So if you're just tuning in, Allan was sort of giving us a tutorial on hot mud versus cold mud, which sounds like it's more or less just the distinction between pre-mixed or cold mud would be the mud, we're talking spackle or joint compound, folks.
Right.
That's all. But, mud sounds more in the know, you could say.
It's the lingo.
It's more street level. That's the street level drywall talk. But but you were saying something, and I had a question because before we went to break, you talked about first of all, you got to look at the bag, and if it says 5 minutes or 90 minutes or whatever, take that serious and usually when it says 5 minutes, you really have about 2.5 minutes to work with it before it starts getting funky and it doesn't really want to behave. But I had a question. Does it also rate the density? Because some sheetrock or some joint compounds just feel more dense to me.
They are.
And so,
different brands come with different density.
Okay.
You also get into of whether or not it is a hydraulic product.
What's that?
Hydraulic concrete sets up in like 5 minutes, and you can do it underwater. It is completely independent of, the curing process is independent of air.
Right.
Man, you got to move fast. That's all I got to say is you have got to move fast. So, the poor people standing there, when I got my bag, they almost looked relieved that somebody confidently bought something, and the questions began.
Yeah, because that's how you teed this up. I'm picturing you're in the big box store, you go in and you have these confused people, and you're always happy to enlighten, aren't you?
Well, if you don't know, you don't know. It's that simple.
So
Be afraid to ask.
What were they hung up on?
Well, they were.
So I'm guessing they're looking, and they were probably going to go to the store, get some joint compound, and then they're like, okay, well, there's a whole rack here of
one of them
options,
really needed spackling.
Okay.
One of them did not need joint compound because they had some nail holes they wanted to fill on their wall.
Yeah.
So somebody had sent them down here to the sheetrock aisle, and where they really needed to be was over in paint, over by glue, and get a little tub of spackling.
Is spackling strong? Because, I know not everybody makes that distinction, though.
No.
Spackling.
Spackling
and joint compound are almost interchangeable. But
yeah, but they're not.
No, that's why I'm asking you to clarify. So yeah.
Spackling is exactly that. It is there for that small minor repair. That ding, that little hole, that nail puncture, where the screw went in, or maybe even where the dog scratched on the wall.
Right.
You can go back and spackle this. Now you perform the exact same functions. You're going to use a putty knife. You're going to need to clean the area, sand it lightly, putty knife it in. And this is an old adage I was told when I first got into this was you get paid to mud, you lose money sanding. And I thought, and it took me about a whole day to figure out what he was talking about.
Now I think I know, but
the more mess you leave on the wall, thinking, I'll sand it down later.
Oh, yeah.
The sanding is your time. That's where people give up and do ugly jobs.
Oh, yeah.
Seriously,
yeah.
I got pictures yesterday.
That's exactly right. They say, I'm going to put it on extra heavy, halfway through after they've gone through 5 pieces of sandpaper and everything. Okay.
All right. The next big reason why you would choose a hot mud versus a cold mud. The job I'm working on now, we're not ready to mud and tape and finish the walls. But most of the walls are already up. So all of the little imperfections and the gaps and the little corners that weren't square, all of that can be pre-mudded. AKA, we can go ahead and get rid of the little problem spots now.
Right.
And we're going to do that with hot mud. Because hot mud generally doesn't shrink and doesn't crack in larger areas.
That's the other thing. If you put some mud on, man, if you put it on too heavy, it's going to look, for one thing, it's never going to dry. It's going to take days, And then also, it'll look like the Sahara, or not that, it'll look like New Mexico with a bunch of cracks in the sand.
It'll look like the Adobe going wrong.
Yeah.
I know this is kind of random, but a texter texted in, am I giving a good comparison for hot mud versus cold mud? Their name is Chris. They said McDonald's is cold mud, Taco Bell is hot mud.
Oh, great. Can we get sued now for that?
No, I think we're good. I'm going to about halfway agree with him, too. I know where he's going with this.
I don't know if I know exactly what he's talking about, but I think let's keep it civil here, Chris, but thanks for the comedy hour. So I'm going to have to.
The biggest thing is, Max, like in these little corners and stuff where there's gaps, and I don't want the mud sitting there for 2 days drying, and then it's going to crack, and it's going to bulge, and it's going to make more work later.
Right.
I'm going to use a 90-minute hot mud, and you can also now mix it yourself to the density you want.
Well, talk about that, because some is waterier if it's drier.
Right. If I'm working on a ceiling, I don't want a quote-unquote loose mud. I don't want a very thin mud that I'm trying to get into something. I want something that's going to stick to that hole. So I'm going to make it a little thicker, a little more like oatmeal, and a little less like pancake batter.
I was about to say, because I'm thinking in terms, I hate to go down this road, but I always think in terms of cooking. I'm like, okay, cake frosting seems like a pretty good density for something like that.
Well, it's going to feel, as you're stirring in the pan, as you're mixing this, it's going to hit that kind of oatmeal consistency.
Okay.
And that is a good consistency to work with. I like that because you can get it mostly smooth. Now, the thinner you make it, the smoother you can get it.
Yeah.
So, but you can get it smooth enough so that a couple of brushes with the sandpaper and it's nice and smooth and ready to paint. Now, I don't want to use hot mud for the whole big job. You could. I personally like the cold mud for the actual paper taping and doing all the seams.
Yeah, because you're not mixing. You're just kind of
it's just faster and easier. Now, I will admit, I do cut it. I do add a couple of cups of water to it.
Really? That much? Holy smoke. You talking about to like a 5-gallon bucket? Or
I mean, it's just a cup of water. It's just to loosen it up a little bit because it's been really compacted sitting there for Lord only knows how long sitting in the bucket. So I want to loosen it up a little bit, give it a little life so it's easier for me to work with. So, welcome to hot mud versus cold mud.
Well,
hot mud, chemical reaction.
Yeah.
Cold mud has to dry.
Yeah, because it's one of those things, like you said, if you don't know, you don't know. But once you know, you do know. But
it makes a big difference.
But I wanted to go real quick back to you said you met these people at the store. What was their confusion? I don't know if we ever clarified. Were they just like, and then, I don't know.
Well, they were looking at, all right, what's the difference between the stuff in the bag and the stuff in the bucket? Was, question number one. And I was like, okay, this is going to cure. And you see that number on the bag? That's how long you have before it's cured.
Okay.
So if it says 90 minutes, it means you got 90 minutes. If it says 45 or 20 or 5, because I've had people mistakenly bring me 5-minute mud to job sites. And that's just pointless.
Right.
Because I can't get it mixed and can't get it up on the scaffolding in time. So
they told you what the job that they were doing?
Yeah, I just asked them, what are you doing? And one lady is like, well, I got these screw holes from my kid's room. And I'm like, okay, you need to go down to paint and get you some spackle.
Right.
It just goes in, get the stuff that's pink when you put it in. When it turns white, you're ready to go.
Right.
Sand it, you're ready to go. The other person had a bigger job to do. And what they really needed was like a 45-minute mud.
Right.
And the other person was getting ready to completely redo a room. And I'm like, let me show you paper tape and cold mud. Because you're going to be doing the bigger job. So you had 3 people all with the same question, all getting 3 different products.
Yeah, now that's interesting too, because the temptation might have been for them to say, well, we'll just all chip in and get a gallon of this and share it.
Yeah. Bob, Ted, and Allan are going to all go, no, and that one product does not fit all.
And you know what's great about it? It's very affordable. I mean, it's not expensive. So
correct.
It's like whatever you need is not going to be, and you can get it in basically any size. I'm sure the lady that just needed to fill those nail holes, she could just go grab the little
all she needed was smaller than a cup of coffee. Right.
It looks like one of those Keurig things. So yeah,
she didn't need one of those. She did not need a big old bucket. But personally, in the next couple of weeks, I'm probably going to buy 20 of those big 40-pound buckets. because we got a lot of walled mud.
The whole thing that interests me about this is I get stopped and asked questions at the big box store all the time.
Yep.
I guess we look like we
We
know
look
things.
like we're doing something.
I don't know, whatever. Okay. Hey, well, we try to make it look like we know what we're doing, but you're listening to Tool Talk Radio here at News Talk 98.9 The Roar Memphis. We're going to take a quick break, and then we're going to get to our great moments in building history, discussing the Pantheon in Rome.
Tool Talk Radio with Joe and Allan.
All you got to do is let us disassemble you. We're not banging rocks together here. We know how to put a man back together. So that's a complete reassembly. New vitals, spit shine on the old ones. Frankly, you ought to be paying us.
News Talk 98.9, the roar of Memphis.
You know, it's a good business model when you can offer a lot of different options to the customer. That's how you get the job done. Anyway, welcome back. I don't know. Whatever. Welcome back to Tool Talk Radio, coming to you from the Brown Refrigeration Studios. I'm Joe Thorderson with Thor's Hammer, Carpentry and Wood Turning, here with my buddy Allan Gilbreth from darkoakmedia.com and our pal Max over there behind the glass. You can call or text us at the Big M Roofing and Remodeling Hotline at 901-683-0989. We also invite you to watch the show at the News Talk 98.9 The Roar's Facebook page and the News Talk 98.9 The Roar's X page. And also, while you're on social media, scoot on over to the Tool Talk Radio Facebook page and check out the posts we've made over there. During the break, Max told us that we had a couple of texts. Actually, they were responding to, I guess they were questions in reaction to what Allan was talking about on Allan's Week in Review. If you don't mind, dear listeners, one was from Chris in Illinois and one was from Agent 732.
Ivan was in Coldwater, Mississippi. Actually, was
Right.
one of the questions. You're thinking of Chris, the McDonald's guy.
Yeah, Chris, the tasteless McDonald's guy. Okay, yeah, okay. But you guys, we're gonna get to your question, but we feel like we'd rather get it at the top of the hour. So put a pin in it. We will get to that, but we don't want to lose time getting to our great moments in building history because this is a pretty interesting discussion. So we're going to get to that momentarily. Before we do, let's talk about our good buddy Jay Hill with Big M Roofing and Remodeling. Now, I wonder how Jay would have approached the roofing if he got the roofing contract for the Pantheon. I mean, of course, they didn't have shingles back in the day, 2,000 years ago, did they?
In a way, yes. They build roofs, and the roof of the Pantheon would definitely be a feather in his cap. It's still there.
Yeah, I don't know. Jay, I don't know if he's ever done anything equivalent to that. I'll tell you what he does do, though. The guy is all about the exterior protection of your home from top to bottom, roofing, gutters, siding, windows. We always like to showcase his roofing work because that's really, well, that's what that's kind of what is the main reason people call, because that's where all your issues start. If you don't have a solid roof, you don't have a home, really. I mean, let's face it. You have to have a functioning roof. And what's great about Jay, he's always 5 stars with the Better Business Bureau. He's a GAF Master Elite Installer, and they install roofing systems. These are not just shingles that are thrown up on a roof. These are entire systems, from the underlayment to the ridge cap vents to the edge to the flashing that is used. Everything works harmoniously as a system, and that's why these things are so great. They can offer lifetime transferable warranties, which is really a newer thing in roofing. And but that's what happens when you're dealing with the latest technology in roofs. Jay is also, one of the things that sets Jay apart is he's also a former insurance agent. And a lot of times, if you have damage to the outside of your home, and especially to your roof, that may be covered by your homeowner's insurance. And if it is, it's a game changer, because, man, that is going to save you thousands of dollars. And that is a process. That is not just something you pick up the phone and call your insurance agent to straighten out. You want an advocate, and Jay basically is your advocate in that situation. So call him up. He'll give you a free consultation, and he'll let you know if there's a path forward. And if there is, boy, is that exciting. Allan and I both had our roofs replaced that way.
We did.
And it's a really great feeling. So, and also, like we said, gutters, siding, windows, everything from top to bottom. Jay is there to cover, to protect the outside of your home. If you need financing, Jay has 30 lenders at his disposal, and you can qualify in minutes, and you're going to be able to choose the terms that work best for you. So just a great guy, a very dynamic personality. We love Jay Hill. He's out there getting it done. Call Jay directly. He always encourages you to do that. You can get in touch with him at 901-484-5645 or go to his really cool website, bigmroofingandremodeling.com. All right, Max, let's get to it, man.
And now, great moments in building history.
This is going to be interesting. We're talking about the Pantheon, and I know you have to distinct because you said, I think you told me there's a Pantheon in Greece. I know there's the Parthenon.
There's the Parthenon in Greece, and we also have a replica Parthenon in Nashville.
Okay.
But the Pantheon is the Basilica of Santa Maria.
Well, it didn't start off that way.
No,
it became a basilica. But Max, you're always, I know you're into linguists, or you're always all about language. The Pantheon, we've heard the name Pantheon. Like, I hate to say it, but when I think of, they always say like the Pantheon of Marvel superheroes or something. It's basically, tell us what the name Pantheon means.
It's of Greek origin, and it means all the gods.
Right. So when they built it, you would think, okay, it's all the gods. You would think it has something to do with being a ancient Roman temple, because this is built almost 2,000 years ago, but they never really clarify. Historians still to this day debate what the original function was for it. It was definitely supposed to be a centerpiece of the city, because this thing, it gets your attention,
and also a flex of power.
Right. It was like, it's one of those monuments that I'm trying to remember. It was started by, I think, Augustus, and
it was Agrippa.
Yeah, Marcus Agrippa did it, and that was under the reign of Augustus. However, that one burned down.
Right, and then they did it. Yeah, they rebuilt. But what we wanted to discuss too is just what's fascinating about it. It is basically still intact. It's still used today. And if you're trying to envision what the Pantheon looks like, it looks like the front looks like one of those almost typical Roman structures with the columns and the triangle shaped, whatever you want to say, archway, and then it goes into a domed, a round dome structure and everything. But there's a lot of interesting features, especially to do with concrete, almost what we were just discussing earlier about concrete concept, concrete density and things like that. And we should say this is also circling back. If you're ever wondering why you can go to Rome and there are still structures that are standing there, 2,000 years later, Roman concrete was one of the most game-changing, I don't know if you want to say chemical or chemistry type inventions throughout history, but it basically crystallizes and it basically hardens as it's exposed to weather, which is a fascinating.
So it takes the mud that we have and makes it even better.
Yeah, because they made it with salt water and things. But I don't know.
And blood.
There's a lot to say about the Pantheon, so let's dive in, gentlemen. So,
Okay, well, welcome to Emperor Hadrian.
Okay,
who had the modern, what we consider the modern building built.
Right.
So that's about AD, what, 126,
it was like
127, somewhere right around
I think
in
it
there.
took 7 or 8 years to build the
it
Pantheon.
took a while. I think it opened around 126.
Right.
I could be a year or two off on that. But of what is it best known for? Well, let's go with 2 basic words. Still standing.
Yeah.
It's here.
Looking good. I mean,
it is happily,
millions of tourists visit it every year.
Happily, an earthquake. An earthquake is generally what happened to a lot of the older buildings. Somewhere over the last 3,000 years, an earthquake happened in that area, and our modern buildings don't fare so well, so you can imagine what happened 1,000 years ago.
Right.
This one has been just shockingly preserved.
Right.
Of when you see this thing, you really have a hard time grasping that it's 2,000 years old.
And
really doesn't look it. You don't know what 2,000 years old looks like, but this doesn't look like that.
Well,
because it's used, it's well lit. People are in it all the time now. You're walking on floors that honestly Roman emperors walked around on.
Oh yeah, the same. Well, here's the thing too. So one of I think the most fascinating part of the Pantheon has got to be the dome. The dome. So if you were to basically cut the Pantheon in half and you were to do some calculations, you would see that it forms almost a perfect globe, you could say. So the dome is whatever, there's a lot, whatever. It's easier to show you if you look on a YouTube video, but it basically forms a perfect circle in terms of its dimensions. But the thing is, it doesn't even look like it doesn't even look like the dome roof should stand, let alone be standing 2,000 years later. But what's also interesting we should mention is at the very center of the dome roof, it's open. It's about a 9-foot opening called the oculus. It's just a hole.
Yeah.
Why would you build a structure with just a big hole? I mean, it's like a sunroof, but it's literally a sunroof. I mean, everything's coming in. It gets rain. Rain comes in, but they do have a nice drainage system. But I'm interested in that oculus because there's a lot of thought that went into that oculus.
Well,
so.
and that is, I think you hit it exactly when you said it's like a sunroof.
Right.
I think it is exactly that.
Right.
As the sun moves across the sky, of course, we know a lot of ancient monuments were built for certain times of the year or when certain celestial events come along.
The Egyptians were famous for that.
Everything from Stonehenge forward. So I am sure where it's located there in the Middle East, during the height of the day, you had an amazing beam of sunlight coming down the center of this to illuminate everybody up and down the sides.
Well, that's the thing. So basically, go ahead, Matt. I'll let you have this one.
I wanted to say that it's really interesting. Like Stonehenge has like the way that the sun shines during particular solstices. Well, it's a very similar thing in the Pantheon on, I believe, around August 21st. April 21st, when the birthday of Rome occurred. It had like the ability to shine through in such a perfect manner.
Well, it shines through. This is what's interesting. So they built this thing. It is okay. You can translate it. It's 42 meters high. How tall is that? I always just equate a meter with a little under. It's
just
like 33
basically
inches.
Call it a yard.
Okay.
So you're looking about half a football field high.
Okay, it's that high. So here's what's fascinating about that. On April 21st, with pinpoint precision, the sun will shine through the oculus, and it will shine directly onto the front door, the main entrance of the Pantheon.
Yes.
That's not an accident.
No.
What I'm more fascinated with is who the mathematician was or who calculated it to make it do that. I mean, that's pretty brilliant because, it wasn't an accident, obviously. No. So that's the kind of thing going on in the Pantheon. So,
and the thing is that it's still here. And the really impressive thing is that dome is concrete.
That's the thing.
It's Roman concrete. It is the volcanic saltwater concrete that self-heals.
And what's interesting too is they made it in a way where as the roof got taller, of course, as it goes higher, the geometry there makes it gets smaller, but what they also did is they mixed it with lighter materials.
Yes.
So it gets lighter to ease the stresses that would be put on it. It's still a concrete roof though.
Yes.
And it still has a hole in the roof and it's still standing. It is a masterwork of concrete.
And we haven't even gotten to the fact that the pillars and stuff were actually shipped from Egypt.
Right.
Which is an even greater flex of power.
Well, I'm glad you said that, Matt, because I wanted to delve into the Egyptian connections on this when we come back. So it's pretty fascinating structure. The Pantheon in Rome. You're listening to Tool Talk Radio. We're going to continue the conversation when we come right back.
Tool Talk Radio with Joe and Allan.
The world is a question. This room is an answer. And the answer is no.
News Talk 98.9, the roar of Memphis.
What a classic musical. And welcome back to Allan's just shaking his head. And welcome back to Tool Talk Radio, coming to you from the Brown Refrigeration Studios. I'm Joe Thorderson with Thor's Hammer, Carpentry and Wood Turning. Here with my buddy Allan Gilbreth from darkoakmedia.com and our pal Max over there behind the glass. You can call or text us at the Big M Roofing and Remodeling Hotline at 901-683-0989. We also invite you to watch the show on the News Talk 98.9 The Roar's Facebook page and the News Talk 98.9 The Roar's X page. We also invite you, while you're on social media, to go over to the Tool Talk Radio Facebook page. And one of the posts that you'll find is what we're discussing right now in our Great Moments in Building History. We're talking about the Pantheon in Rome, which is built almost 2,000 years ago. It is really a masterwork of concrete. It's made of concrete and brick and solid stone, which we were talking about just before the break. It's full of all sorts of it's got a big if you don't know what it looks like, one of the most interesting features is it's a round structure mostly. The entrance is kind of a square structure, but when you get into the main atrium and everything, it is a round structure with a domed roof with a 9-foot hole in the middle, up in the top, called the oculus, and it creates all sorts of interesting lighting. We were talking about how on certain times of the year, like especially April 21st, which is the birthday of Rome, it shines on the front door. So they were kind of mimicking what a lot of Egyptian structures did back in the day. And before the break, we were saying the columns, there are 16 columns at the entrance to the Pantheon the stones came from Egypt. I mean, these things, they're 40 feet long, Alan. I want to say they weighed like 20 tons each, and easily. Shipping those over would have been something. And I mean, I'm sure that there was a lot of conversation going on with Egyptian contractors and things like that. And I wonder if part of that is why they incorporated some Egyptian, aspects to this structure. And let's face it, emperors and they were always trying to one up each other, right? I mean,
well, yeah,
this was a power play. You didn't have to build this at all, but they're going to do it. They're going to do it big and show it off, right? So,
well, the final structure we have today happened under Hadrian, and of course he's better known for the wall.
Right.
Yeah,
because this isn't the only building project.
This is, a lot of these emperors, when they came in, I guess one of their big public works kind of things, you kept people working, you kept people busy by giving them something to go do.
Right.
And everybody would launch some kind of massive project.
Yeah.
And off it would go. And in this particular case, it's kind of a perfect storm of Roman know-how and Roman ability to get supplies, because Rome
they get
basically
it done, whatever
conquered, most of the Western world at that time.
Right.
So if they wanted Egyptian stone, they could get Egyptian stone. If they wanted Italian marble, they could get Italian marble. If they wanted, concrete from a rare volcano on the far side of the Mediterranean, well, they could go get that too.
And they did, because the volcanic ash is one of the things that makes it such a strong, concrete. So.
I'll even tie this into our earlier conversation about mud, in the fact that the Romans were amazingly good at concrete.
That's exactly that's what
the
conquered.
Structure, the density, the type of mix, whether or not it's going to deal with water, whether it's a road, whether it's going to be a part of an arch. They used different additives. They used different mixes. And as you said, they even found ways of creating different densities and weights.
Right.
And folks, this is 2,000 years ago. This isn't, you didn't go down to your local big box store. You had to send a ship somewhere.
Speaking of, here's something we didn't mention at all. When they first built it, this thing was also covered in bronze. It would have looked a lot different. And I think there was like a big eagle on the top. It looks different than it did, obviously when they built it. And then in the year 655, Emperor Constantine said, we kind of need that bronze. So they took it off, and they melted it down. They use it. But what would bronze look like on we're talking the entire outside of a building.
It'd have been shiny.
Well, I'm just thinking you'd have to have sunglasses. What would that? It would have been intimidating, but also, my gosh, what does that do when it's reflecting off on it? I'm just picturing August in Rome with a bronze building.
Yeah, you got a tan real fast.
So what? Yeah, that part doesn't make okay. But does bronze? I always think of like the outside of the Statue of Liberty. That's copper, right?
Correct.
And it turns green. What happens to bronze over the years?
Bronze gets that patina. What we call the aged patina. That's the depth and thickness of the patina is how a lot of museum artifacts are actually aged.
So it's kind of brownish.
Yeah, it tans darker and darker and darker. So there would have been an entire fleet of people whose entire job it would be to shine the building.
Yeah.
Yes.
And we're talking a pretty tall, 100 and something. It's big.
Yeah, this thing was half a football field tall.
Yeah.
And this is just a question that kind of came to my mind because we're trying to make the Egyptian connection and the Roman connection. Is the labor force, was the labor force like a sophisticated labor force, or was it like, let's just say politely, slave labor or like contracted? Because I know in Egypt, a lot of their structures, they got like the best of the best to do it because national pride rested on it.
It's probably a combination. I'm guessing all the grunt labor, I hate to say it, probably.
All right, you sourced your materials.
Right.
But the people that built these were the best of the best.
Yeah.
This is, like I said, every one of these people that began these projects knew that this was their workforce project.
Right.
And there was a lot of pride on the line. That, you wanted the best people from around the world working on your showcase buildings.
Yeah.
And you wanted people that were proud of that building as, they had to be proud enough to give it to the emperor and say, hey, look what we built.
Right. Yeah.
So a lot of early movies, let's just say, grossly misrepresented who built a lot of stuff.
Oh, yeah.
It was not just, we're going to go get, 20 people and we're going to build a wall.
Right.
No, just like today, in today's structure, you had general contractors, you had designers, you had architects, you had a lot of mathematicians because you were talking about the angle of the sun.
That's the part that fascinates
me. Can you imagine getting that wrong?
Well, I was going to say, because you're building this entire structure on that basis, and if you did the math wrong, or if you pointed the door, you can't just twist the building to get it into position.
Yesterday I had a client throw a couple of new features at me they wanted in a part of a building.
Yeah.
And happily, we had not mudded and taped and covered things. So it was a very simple job to go in, take down the sheetrock, add the features they wanted inside the walls, and then put the sheetrock back.
Right.
But, 2 weeks from now, that would have been, instead of a really simple job, it would have been a tear out and replace.
Right. I wanted to throw something in, Max, since you brought it up. One of the things they did, it sounded like they were pretty good at harnessing free labor, you could say. So one of the things that they did is, because for support structures, there was a lot of stages of the job where you had to basically just fill it with dirt so you had something for things to rest on. Well, when it came time to get rid of all that dirt, that's a lot of work. So what they did is they mixed in a bunch of gold coins into the dirt. And they said, well, if you come and help us remove the dirt, any coins you find, you can keep.
Yes.
And apparently people flock to that. That's easy money. Well, I don't know that it's easy money, but
it's not easy money.
Back
but
in the day,
what?
that would have been
money.
It's so that's pretty smart.
Come get your bucket of dirt and see if you want a prize.
I don't want to call it manipulation, but it's...
Oh, you can call that manipulation easily.
But whoever, anybody that was involved with the Pantheon, hats off, because your structure, I don't know that I can guarantee one of my decks is going to be standing 2,000 years later. I'd like to think it is, but I don't know, man.
Just put gold coins in there and incentivize the rest of the people.
There we go. But congratulations to the Romans for the Pantheon. A great moment in building history. Well, Allan, hour one is in the can, but hour two is going to be great because when we come back, we're going to be visiting with our good buddy Larry Brown from Brown Refrigeration.
News Talk 98.9, the roar of Memphis. Tool Talk Radio with Joe and Allan.
And welcome to hour two of Tool Talk Radio, coming to you from the Brown Refrigeration Studios. I'm Joe Thorderson with Thor's Hammer, Carpentry and Wood Turning, here with my buddy Allan Gilbreth from darkoakmedia.com, and our pal Max over there behind the glass. And in the house, our special guest and our buddy Larry Brown with Brown Refrigeration. So if you have any HVAC questions or things you want to you can send pictures or call or text at the Big M Roofing and Remodeling Hotline at 901-683-0989. We also invite you to watch the show. If you're wondering what Larry Brown looks like, I think he's on camera, right, Max? The camera should be on. And you can watch the show two ways. You can go to the News Talk 98.9 The Roar's Facebook page or the News Talk 98.9 The Roar's X page. And we also invite you, while you're on social media, to go to the Tool Talk Radio Facebook page and check out the posts we've made over there and the surprisingly entertaining Brown Refrigeration Facebook page. You guys, Larry, you put some good effort into your Facebook page, don't you, man?
Well, we do, and we try to keep it up to date and keep some fresh material on there. So it's always there. And if you go to our website, there's all the Trane products on there, and they're updated immediately. If there's a new unit, new product, if it changes, updates, whatever, that's automatically updated. So you can look at the most up-to-date view of Trane products available.
There you go. Because Trane is always evolving, isn't it?
Absolutely. I mean, it's been a lot of energy upgrades that we've seen in the last couple of years. So units had to change to conform to those requirements. So yeah, it's always up to date and it's always changing. That's for sure.
So Larry, it's okay. It's that time of year. We're starting to. We were hearing news reports earlier. We're not getting hit so bad, but other parts of the country are getting hit. They're finally getting their winter weather. We're bound to get ours. We know we're going to get our ice storms. We know we're going to get our whatever. So today, I think that might be a running theme. What do you think, Allan?
Next weekend is supposed to get below freezing. So.
Right. But Larry, before we jump in with all our HVAC talk, you're always really good about offering specials for people that tune in. So.
Yeah. So I got a couple specials today. So one is the first one we're going to offer 24-month no interest financing on new Trane systems. We're also going to include a free 10-year parts warranty, a free programmable thermostat, and a free media filter with any installation. So if you're interested, obviously you can give us a call. We'd be glad to come out and take a look at your specific situation and work and show you some systems that would be appropriate for that. So if you're interested in a Remy Halo, we're offering $100 off on our Remy Halo products. So, with all this, flu, the respiratory diseases, COVID's still out there, you really want to think about doing something to make your indoor air quality a safer environment for your family, right? So Remy Halo is going to do that. And so $100 off on that. And if you're interested in doing an air duct cleaning, we're offering $100 off on our air duct cleaning. So if you're interested in any of these fine offers, just give us a call at 901-362-1881, or you can check us out on the web at brownref.com, or you can go to our Facebook page. We'd love to hear from you.
Yep, very easy to remember, Brown REF. I love how simple that website is. So, Allan and I have questions. I know you've got things you want to discuss too. Can I kick it off? I have a question that I think a lot of people might ask right now. So, okay, if you have an outside, we know that your AC unit is partially inside and then partially outside. You have, your fan, all the compressor and everything. Okay. Do you need to winterize that? Even here, I know we don't get as harsh of winters as you do in Chicago or something, but do you need to protect that thing from
I don't personally recommend covering it because sometimes, unless you use the proper cover that has some ventilation, you can cause a lot of condensation inside that cover. So if you just take some plastic and were to wrap around it, you're going to create a lot of condensation in the unit that could actually do more harm than good. So if you're concerned about it, you can cover it, but always use an air conditioning cover, and you can buy those on various websites or big box stores, and make sure it has some mesh ventilation, so we'll let it breathe so it doesn't build up a lot of condensation in there. But personally, I don't cover my units, and I just don't think it's necessary in our climate here. Now, if you do have a heat pump, which a lot of folks do not cover the heat pump because it's gonna render the unit useless because it has to breathe, so on and so forth. So you got to make sure that first off, you have a straight air conditioning with like a gas furnace. And if you're interested in covering it, just please buy the proper cover. Don't go down to the big box store and buy some rolled plastic or a tarp and wrap around it, because you're going to end up doing more harm than good.
I didn't think about trapping moisture in there. That's because my thought was, okay, well, we're keeping ice and everything out, but what you're really doing is,
Oh,
I guess here it's different here than if you lived in Chicago or Minneapolis or something. But
the worst thing I ever saw was somebody wrapped a unit one time with rolled plastic, and the water, of course, no water could get out.
Right.
And then you had below freezing temperatures, and now they had ice inside the unit, and it actually created a leak.
Well, I guess the ice could, expand or something, and push on
just enough to,
but you also have to think about, you have electrical components in there. So not only do you have like the fan motor, but you also have like relays and other items in there. And you sure don't want to be in some wet environment where it's going to condensate, because it could cause corrosion and really create more problems doing it like that as opposed to just leaving it uncovered. So if you're highly concerned about it, if you have leaves or something, I've seen people take like plywood and put over the top of the unit and, weight it down with something. It's kind of a bush way of doing it, but it will at least keep the leaves from getting in. But remember, you got to remove that before you turn your unit on. So just be careful.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know. It's really tricky because some of these leaves are pine needles and stuff. I don't want them getting in an AC unit. I mean, so.
Oh, absolutely. Because what happens when the leaves get in the bottom of the unit, then they get wet and they stay wet, and eventually you're going to cause corrosion then. So if you're in an area like your home that has a lot of trees and you're getting a lot of leaves in your unit, you may want to cover the top of it with something, but I wouldn't cover the whole unit with like some rolled plastic, okay? So if you want to put some plastic over the top to keep the leaves out, and then leave the sides where it can breathe, that would be acceptable.
So I think the lesson here is if you've got an HVAC unit, you don't just sort of ignore it and just kind of turn it on when you need it. You really have to keep an eye on this. That if it's behind a fence that you almost never look at, this needs to be visited. You got to stay in tune with it. So.
It's just like a car. You
right.
know, if you don't do any maintenance to your car, you're probably going to have big problems. And it's the same thing with air conditioning systems. If you don't maintain it, you're going to have big problems eventually.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I'm glad you do this, Larry. Like I said, parts of the HVAC unit still baffle me. All the chemistry, all the physics involved with this. I don't know. You're kind of a genius in a way.
Well, I'm just the guy that works on them and installs them. The people that develop them and design them are the geniuses. But there is a lot of stuff going on.
All right, man. Well, we're going to continue that because there's a lot to talk about. And we're going to do that when we come back here on Tool Talk Radio.
Tool Talk Radio with Joe and Allan.
People really don't know how to finish wood properly.
News Talk 98.9, the roar of Memphis.
Yeah, Ron Swanson. He's such a know-it-all. A lot of people know how to finish wood, Ron Swanson. Anyway, welcome back to that guy ticks me off. Welcome back to Tool Talk Radio, coming to you from the Brown Refrigeration Studios. I'm Joe Thorderson with Thor's Hammer, Carpentry and Wood Turning. Here with my buddy Allan Gilbreth from darkoakmedia.com. Our pal Max over there behind the glass. And in the house, our good buddy Larry Brown with Brown Refrigeration. If you want to get in touch with Larry, there's a lot of ways to do that. You can call or text us at the Big M Roofing and Remodeling Hotline at 901-683-0989. And if you want to see what Larry looks like, just go to the News Talk 98.9 The Roar's Facebook page or the News Talk 98.9 The Roar's X page. He's on camera. If you're, it's funny. You hear a voice, but they almost never look like what you think. Actually, Larry, you kind of look like what I thought you'd look like. When I've heard you on the radio for years, and then when I finally met you, I'm like, that's Larry Brown. Yeah. I think I even walked in the room and like that one over there is Larry or something. But
I'm glad my face matches my voice, and
I think it does. So.
Okay, good.
So also while you're over on social media, it behooves you to go to the Tool Talk Radio Facebook page and jump on over to the Brown Refrigeration Facebook page. It's pretty active. They keep it interesting and they keep it educational. Speaking of that, Larry, I'm happy to admit that the HVAC units still sort of baffle me. You say things that sound very simple, but I'm like, okay, well, you have to make this happen. You say things like it removes hot air from your home and pumps it out. Okay, how does it do that? How does it distinguish the hot air from the cold? You say these units really they fascinate me. Among other things, you were talking about heat pumps, and I wonder if other people are as confused about what a heat pump is as so I don't know.
Well, an air conditioner or like a refrigerator or anything that cools stuff, all it does is takes heat from inside and pumps it outside. Okay, so like your air conditioner, it's absorbing heat from inside your home, and then it removes that heat and moves it to the outside. So when you don't make cold, you remove heat. Okay, so that's engineering stuff, but it's like you're removing heat. When you remove heat, what happens? It gets cooler, right? So what you're doing is taking the heat from inside your home and you're pushing it outside. Okay, so when you have a heat pump, it reverses that cycle, and so now you're taking heat from outside and moving it inside into your home, which is hence the term heat pump. So heat pumps are a big push in our industry now to try to get away from fossil fuels and stuff like that. So heat pumps are becoming more and more popular. There are a lot of tax credits and stuff associated with installing a heat pump. Unfortunately, what happens is that heat pumps, when it gets when it gets like 20 degrees in the teens on down to like last year we saw 0, heat pumps are not going to heat your home. So what they do now is they create like a hybrid system, which you can put in a heat pump, use the heat pump during normal like 30 degrees on up, and then 30 degrees below, you would automatically switch over to the gas furnace. So you don't have to go and flip a switch. You don't have to wake up in the middle of the night and it's cold and you have to go flip the gas furnace on or anything. It's all automatic, and so it just chooses the most efficient way of heating your home. So it's a lot more efficient to heat your home in mild conditions with a heat pump because it's more energy efficient. So you're using less energy. It's less expensive, and then when you need it, it just automatically flips over to the gas furnace. So you got best of both worlds, and that's what we call a dual fuel unit. That's what's known as a dual fuel. So they're becoming way more popular. Our utility costs are really low compared to other parts of the country. So our kilowatt hours here are somewhere around 8 cents. If you go to Hawaii, they're 44 cents.
Oh my gosh! So, holy smokes!
Now and the average is around 15 cents per kilowatt hour. So when of course you get a $300 or $400 or $500 utility bill, you go, well, that's not cheap. Well, if you were living in other parts of the country, that bill might be $700 or $800.
Holy
so
smokes!
Our utility rates are pretty reasonable here, but it's still best to try to do the most efficient thing you can because it's going to save you money in the long run. Because you're going to save money today, you're going to save money 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 15 years from now. You're going to be reaping benefits from that system.
So even if it's 30 or 40 degrees outside, you can capture hot air from outside, or you can capture warm air and pump it in. So instead of using a gas pilot like we see on our old furnaces or like a electrical coil, you're just basically taking air from outside and warming your house with it.
Well,
so that does sound like it's going to save you money.
You're taking the heat out of the air outside, right? It's moving it inside, so it's kind of reversed the cycle. And there's a lot of stuff going on when it does it, but that's just a simple way of explaining it. And then, and heat pumps back in the 80s, where there was a big push for them, all electric neighborhoods, heat pumps. They weren't near as efficient as they are now. So they kind of got a bad name in our area here in our community, but I can assure you that they're a lot more efficient, they work a lot better, and it's all the way down to like 30 degrees. You could probably even go to 25, but we always just recommend 30. Anything 30 or above, heat pump, 30 or below, gas furnace.
It's just like any technology. When it first comes out, it's never as efficient as it is once they kind of start perfecting it.
Oh, absolutely. They've really refined the process and improved it. And we have one of these systems in our office, which is a dual fuel, and you never know when it goes from heat pump to gas furnace. It's just automatic. There's no wake up in the middle of the night and say, well, I got it on heat pump, now I got to go flip it on gas because we're freezing to death or whatever. And then the beauty part about it is if you did ever have a problem with your heat pump, you can manually put it into 100% gas furnace. So you always got a backup source of heat.
All right, cool. Allan, what were you saying about you had a whole checklist of questions that we were talking about last night in our group chat. So, Larry's here. So,
well, I have a heat pump, so I agree with Larry completely that as soon as the really cold weather hits, my heat pump never shuts off. I mean, it runs the entire time. And you're right. Now, when it's 40 degrees outside, it no problem. No problem whatsoever. I did want to kind of circle back to the Remy Halo because, we're back to cold and flu season. I know
everybody I know has been sick
it
lately.
Seems like it never ends these days, but we are actually in cold and flu. And I just want to point out that getting your air ducts cleaned and having something with a UVC capability to it actually makes a big difference. This is one of those, I call it a non-sexy technology because you can't see it.
Yeah.
When you get a new air conditioning unit, you can walk in the backyard and point at a big shiny box on the ground and go, looky, big shiny box. But when somebody puts like a Remy Halo system in your house, there's just now a cord. There's not.
It's all interior.
There's not something sexy that you can show the neighbors.
Exactly.
But the end result is it's actually eliminating organic particulate in your air.
And it's also killing viruses and bacteria that are airborne. So it'll actually, been proven to kill COVID, the flu virus, all that kind of stuff. So it's actually disinfecting your home. Now, is it going to kill every little molecule or of a virus or something like that floating around your home? No, it's not. But it's going to help mitigate them, and it's going to help reduce the numbers of those in your home, which is going to be healthy for you. And let's face it, if you go to the doctor one time and you have to miss 4 or 5 days of work, and you got to go to the doctor, not only do you have all those issues, but just think the money that you either lost at work, you had to spend, and that's just if it was like the flu. What if you get some other disease like COVID or this respiratory thing going around? RSV, it could be life-threatening. So it's something to consider, especially for anybody. It's a huge deal for anybody that has any kind of breathing issues, some underlying issues that would be more, they'd be more prone to having major problems if they get some of these illnesses. So it's a great product. If you'd like to give us a call, we'd be glad to talk to you further about it.
Okay, cool. I'll give it out, 901-362-1881, or go to the website, brownref.com. Man, the time always flies when Larry's here. Anyway, we're up against the bottom of the hour, but we're going to come back here when we get back on Tool. What a stupid. We're here listening to Tool Talk Radio. Give me some caffeine.
Tool Talk Radio with Joe and Allan.
Was that toilet always next to the refrigerator?
Ned. You ever try lugging the toilet up a flight of stairs?
News Talk 98.9, the roar of Memphis.
Yeah, I don't think that's up to code.
No.
Keep the toilet away from the refrigerator. And welcome back to Tool Talk. Unless you live in a New York apartment, I guess you got to put them wherever you can get them there. Shoehorn them in. Welcome back to Tool Talk Radio, coming to you from the Brown Refrigeration Studios. I'm Joe Thorderson with Thor's Hammer, Carpentry and Wood Turning, here with my buddy Allan Gilbreth from darkoakmedia.com, our pal Max over there behind the glass, and in the house, the man himself, Larry Brown from Brown Refrigeration. So if you want to get in touch with us, you can call or text us at the Big M Roofing and Remodeling Hotline at 901-683-0989. We also invite you to watch the show on the News Talk 98.9 The Roar's Facebook page and the News Talk 98.9 The Roar's X page. And also, while you're on social media, head on over to the Tool Talk Radio Facebook page. Like the page, share the page. And while you're on Facebook, scoot on over to the Brown Refrigeration Facebook page. It's amazingly active, and it actually kind of puts our page to shame, Allan. I hate to say it, but no, it's a very entertaining page for a HVAC company, Larry. I don't know how you guys do it, but hey, we don't want to, Max. We had a few texts that came in during the show. We put a pin in them, but we don't want to miss those, Allan. I think they're going to harken back to some of the questions, some of the topics we were discussing earlier. But let's get through those, Max.
Going back to the slinging mud.
Okay.
First
we're
of
talking
all,
about spackle.
I'm ready for you.
Joint compound mud.
So Agent 732 inquires, I've got a neighbor who wants to paint over paneling. They want to know, what should they use to fill the cracks?
Okay.
Oh, God. Wait. Let's just make sure we understand. Their goal is to spackle over...
Or to mud over paneling. Yes.
I have my own opinion. Go ahead.
Yeah,
I bet Larry has an opinion about that.
If you tear down the paneling, chances are there's nothing behind it.
Yeah.
So
Especially
there's a good
if it was
chance there's going to be
1970s.
like studs. Yeah. The 70s called, they want their paneling back.
Right.
An easy, quick way to do it, I would personally... I would use 90-minute just to give myself plenty of time to make sure I've got it in the cracks so I can get a smooth finish when I go back and paint it over.
Okay.
That's just me personally. Or cold mud, just the pre-mixed mud will work. It's just going to take longer for it to cure or dry.
Oh, foolish mortal. What was that? Okay. So
that one's kind of scary.
We should say... Agent
paneling.
732,
Wow.
if you're out there and you think you can go over to some 70s wood paneling with some joint compound and make it look like that's a sheetrock wall, it ain't happening. My opinion would be forget mud, forget joint compound, get yourself some 1/4-inch drywall and just pull the baseboard off, pull the crown mold, and just put that over it.
Yep.
And then you have a nice wall underneath. And it actually adds another layer of insulation. You are never, I don't care how much finesse you have, those lines are going to still pop out, and they're going to look worse because it looks like you purposely tried to cover them. So that's my opinion.
I will agree. Some
That's what I would say.
1/4-inch will work beautifully.
Okay, Max, what do we got next?
So the second question is from Ivan from Coldwater, Mississippi. They said, why do people add dish soap to the mud?
I've never heard of that. Is that an old wise? Have you ever done that?
Oh, I do it all the time. Welcome to a dishwashing liquid you can wash a duck with. All right,
you can't give the brand name, but we all know it.
Yeah. Well, you know which one I'm talking about here. The most versatile dish soap on the planet. You add a little bit of that to your mud when you are actually doing your surface work, not the below the tape. This is where you're doing that finish work. You're going to sand it because that dish soap will reduce the surface tension. It's going to break the surface tension of that mud and let it get a little thinner, a little smoother, and it will also help keep it from getting little tiny air bubbles. So it'll give you a nice, clean, very smooth finish. And I will say it this way, a dab will do you. Just a little bit.
Don't go nuts.
Yeah, you don't need a big old bottle. You just put a little squeeze in there, mix that mud up, and it will give you a nice, pliable, very easy to move finish mud.
All right.
So yeah, I know that trick real well.
Was there one more, Max? That's a pretty good one.
It wasn't a question, but it was more of an interesting article from Keith. They said that they had an article about ancient Roman concrete having self-healing capabilities.
Okay. Yeah, Keith. And we can't get into that now, but it does relate to, we've said that one of the reasons Rome is such a powerful empire is because they conquered concrete.
Oh, and just by the way, this is the very Keith that came up with Iron Tooth.
Oh, so congratulations, Keith. Yeah, you were the winner of our naming that giant
rights.
beaver. But yeah, suffice it to say, go get on YouTube, Google, type in Roman concrete, and you'll find it's really fascinating how they made it. And it's interesting to come up with a formula that hardens. It almost like crystallizes over time and turns into actual stone in a way.
And continues to recrystallize as it's exposed to the environment.
Yeah.
So it actually is, quote unquote, a self-healing mortar or concrete.
Good questions, everybody. Those are we keep them coming in. Well, especially if you got any HVAC questions, get in touch with us while we've got Larry in the house. Take advantage of his expertise. You can call the Big M Roofing and Remodeling Hotline 901-683-0989. I had another question for you, Larry, but before, could we recap in case people are just tuning in? You have some specials for the listeners today, right?
Sure. So today we always bring some specials to the show. So right now we're offering 24-month no-interest financing on any new Trane heating and cooling system. We're going to also include a free 10-year parts warranty, free programmable thermostat, and a free media filter with any system purchase. So then if you're interested in a Remy Halo, we're knocking $100 off on our Remy Halo products. And if you're interested in a duct cleaning, we're knocking $100 off on that. So, if you want to take advantage of any of these offers, just give us a call at 901-362-1881. Or you can check us out on the web at brownref.com. Or you can go to our Facebook page. There's lots of great stuff on there also.
All right, cool. Hey, well, actually, these are your questions, Allan. I'm going to let you get, because I was just looking at our show notes that we were discussing last night, but go ahead.
I got one for Larry. Of every year, every fall, people start, getting ready to put on their heat. And I know we're getting ready for some cold, but warm weather is only 8 weeks away?
We hope.
Probably. Yeah, March.
Well, we haven't talked to Punxsutawney Phil yet.
I hadn't talked to the rodent yet, but we're literally 8 to 10 weeks away.
8 to 10 weeks away, right.
And every year I get the same question, and it is about topping off everybody calls it Freon. Everybody tells you that I need to top off my Freon so this thing blows cold.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. If you need to top this thing off, does that not mean you have a leak somewhere in that system?
Absolutely.
Because isn't it supposed to be a closed system?
Absolutely.
So if you have to top off your quote-unquote Freon, I'm going to be in advertising for you. They seriously need to call you, don't they?
Well, they sure do because, I've been doing this for a long, long time. And back in the day, refrigerant or Freon was really cheap. And so people would have a leak and, we go over there and top their system off or something. Well, nowadays, refrigerant is what the proper term, but Freon is very expensive. And there's also rules and laws about, leaks and, stuff like that, about adding refrigerant. So you're doing yourself a disservice if you have a leak. And, if you're having to add refrigerant, you have to equate it to just like a tire on your car. If you got to put air in your tire on your car, what does it have? It's got a leak, right? So you need to get the leak fixed, and then you won't have to put air in your tire, or you won't have to put refrigerant in your HVAC system. Now, I can promise you air for your tire is going to be a whole lot cheaper than putting Freon in your air conditioner.
Oh, yeah.
This stuff is like hundreds of dollars a pound now. So it's very expensive. And so, you want to keep your system leak-free. If you're having to add refrigerant, get your tech, whoever you use, us or anybody else, to look for the leak and address that and get it fixed so you won't have these problems in the future.
It's funny you said that because now you're making me think. I'm just thinking of a car. I know that we always have in our head sort of a formula for when you have an older vehicle, like, okay, at what point do I stop repairing this and just get a new vehicle? Like, is there something similar with like your HVAC? Do you ever get to, like, if you show up and you say, well, this unit is probably at the point where they have a decision to make, right?
Absolutely, all the time. You have to think about, HVAC systems, the average life expectancy somewhere around, 12 years, okay? Train, we feel like you can get 15 years out of with proper maintenance. But, if you got a unit that's 10, 11, 12 years old, and you got to spend, several $1,000s on getting it repaired, you need to think about just taking that money and investing it in a new system, because you're going to invest a lot of money and maybe kick the can down the road for a year or two, couple years, and then you're going to have to buy a new system anyway. So when you purchase a new system, not only do you get a more energy efficient unit, but you're also getting a warranty and all that stuff that goes with it. And so, yes, there is a point that you have to make a decision about, do I repair or replace? It's kind of like a car. If you got a car it's 10 years old with 150,000 miles on it, or 200,000 or whatever, and the engine blows up in your car, and is it really worth putting an engine in the car, or do you just want to take that money and go get a new car?
Well, that's why we were saying, don't just call Brown Refrigeration once the catastrophe hits. You all should be out there once or twice a year, because then you can also not only maintain the unit, you can anticipate and say, in a couple years you might have to make that decision or something.
Yes, and it's always nice to do a planned event, as opposed to an emergency, right? So it's better to be proactive than reactive. So if your system is on its last leg and you can make a planned event, it's going to be a much better process than having to replace it in the middle of July or August.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you can get in touch with Brown Refrigeration, 901-362-1881, and visit their website, brownref.com. Guys, we're going to take a quick break, and then when we come back, I have an on-air confession involving my impact driver.
Tool Talk Radio with Joe and Allan.
Dad, your hand is jammed in the toaster!
News Talk 98.9, the roar of Memphis.
Yeah, you're not supposed to put your hand in the toaster. You put the knife in the toaster, right, Alan?
That's
right.
Let's not do
Let
that
me know how
either.
that works for you, Joe.
Okay. Anyway, we do not recommend that, folks. Let's not get sued.
Do not do that.
And welcome back to Tool Talk Radio, coming to you from the Brown Refrigeration Studios. I'm Joe Thorderson with Thor's Hammer, Carpentry and Wood Turning, here with my buddy Alan Gilbreth from darkoakmedia.com, our pal Max over there behind the glass, and in the house, our good buddy Larry Brown with Brown Refrigeration. We've been talking HVAC all morning, and if you're just tuning in and you're just, kicking yourself that you missed the conversation, well, Alan, never fear, right? They can go back and listen. This stuff is saved forever. And remember that before you say anything.
Let me get started here.
Yeah.
You can always pop over to the mighty the Roar 98.9 website. You can listen to it there. You can follow along on any of the podcast capabilities on people like Spotify or YouTube.
Yep.
And you can always find our back catalog at tooltalkradio.com.
I think that's the one-stop shop.
Yep,
That's
pop
got
in
it
there, and the links to everything is all right there, nice and convenient for you.
Absolutely. So that's like we said, never fear. If in the meantime, if you're fast, you can get in touch with us at the Big M Roofing and Remodeling Hotline at 901-683-0989. And we also invite you to watch the show at the News Talk 98.9 The Roar's Facebook page, the News Talk 98.9 The Roar's X page. And also, go to, while you're on social media, go to the Tool Talk Radio Facebook page and check out the action over there, and visit the Brown Refrigeration Facebook page. There's a lot of activity over there. So, all right, Max, well, let's just get this over with.
I've called you all here because I need some honest answers.
Yeah, they all kind of broke. So, when do I start?
There is a basket of oil-soaked rags above a wood-burning stove.
Are you out of your mind? You put a jet engine on a lawnmower?
This time, they are going to be held accountable. This time, they are the ones who will pay.
Say what you want. I happen to know for a fact Larry Brown has a jet engine on his lawnmower. So. I mean, you got a lot of acreage to cover over there.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'd say, but his was designed for it.
Okay.
I got to keep my mower running right so Miss Brown can keep the yard looking good.
You got that right. Yeah. And she's a speed freak. She's out there,
She's
motorcycles, everything. So.
She can do a versatile amount of things, and And she's real good about taking care of things around the house. So I appreciate you. Love you, baby.
There you go.
Let her know I got all kinds of new plants.
Right. So, all right. Well, this is a confession. And to the degree that it's a confession, I didn't do anything wrong. What I did is I waited all these years to do something right. It just, hey, I'm more than happy to admit that I'm always learning. Even I mean, I've been a contractor almost 30 years, and I'm still learning things. I'm really sort of pointing an accusatory finger at Allan for not telling me this. So if you are sort of new to Tool Talk, you should know that for many years I resisted the trend to go over to battery powered tools. Because my argument was I didn't think they had enough torque. And I don't think I was wrong, Allan. Back in the day, the early battery-powered tools didn't have
30
torque.
years ago, they were pretty plimpy.
And I was sort of resistant. So I said, well, you know what? Old Blue, this drill has all the power I need. Well, I finally came over to, and I got a whole set of battery-powered tools.
You did?
And among them was a little drill that, I got to be honest, sat for months doing nothing because it came with two drills. So the one drill, I'm holding this up right now. The drill that I used daily was just the normal
everyday
adjustable.
Drill.
You could adjust the torque. You could adjust the settings on it. Just your straight up drill. And this impact drill, which I'm holding up to the camera, sat for months until I blew out my other drill drilling through concrete at a job. And so I think I've mentioned this a couple months ago that this little impact driver, which I've now nicknamed the Terminator, is one of my favorite tools of all time. And what I'm confessing is I had some holes to drill. I had this is called a spade bit that you put in it, or you've called it a paddle bit, right?
That's what I've always heard them called. It's a paddle bit.
It's a flat drill bit. Basically, it's made to drill a hole. This one in particular drills an 1 1/4 hole. Well, one of my main complaints about the spade bit or the paddle bit is that this is not for finish work. These are like if you just got to bore a hole through a 2x4 to run some wire through or something. It's rough work.
Yes.
Well, Allan, I put this spade bit just on a whim. I put it in the impact driver, and I had to drill, like 15 holes. And I drilled a hole. I wasn't even thinking about it. I looked at it. I said, oh, my gosh, this hole is perfect.
Yes.
What are the odds of that? I drilled 15 more, and every one of them was perfect because this impact driver seems to have the right finesse when you're using a paddle bit. And I'm really angry at you for not telling me this years ago. So I don't know what.
I believe I have mentioned all of this to you over the years.
But it sounds like, yeah.
All right, an impact driver works like the ABS on your car.
Okay. Yeah.
And the ABS of your car presses the brake, instead of your big old heavy foot holding the brake down and failing. Your torque driver just puts pressure consistently on it. So if it starts grabbing and splintering wood and starts powering through it, that's why it does what you and I like to call the blowout on the back.
Too much power.
Where it just rips stuff apart. That impact driver is putting pressure on it thousands of times instead of just once and produces a absolutely clean job.
Okay. I would dwell on this more, but it looks like somebody's on the phone, right?
We got Tim Van Horn on the line to talk about his electric tools in relation to this topic.
Tim Van Horn. Memphis, do you got any fanfare music to play for this? This is a special.
This is too early.
All right, Tim, how's it going,
I don't
man?
need this.
How you
Man,
doing,
I don't
brother?
need fanfare music. This is your world. I'm just passing through. Today might be the happiest day of my life because you guys give me so much DIY info, and I get to give a little bit back today. When you guys started talking about the tools that are battery powered, later today on Buy, Sell, or Stay, Allan's coming back, and we're talking about exactly that thing, the impact driver, and about 5 other tools. I got a Ryobi kit for Christmas, 6 tools, and we're unboxing it on the show and talking about how great they are. And Allan taught me it's not just necessarily the particular bit that you use, but also the type of battery means a lot too when you're working. Man, you guys are the best. But today around 12:30, Allan and I are going to unbox. Like those YouTube videos where they unbox the little LOL dolls and all that kind of stuff. Well, we're going to do power tools today.
Okay, Tim, now that sounds like an audio challenge. I've seen these YouTube videos where they're unboxing. How do you do that on radio?
We did it.
Talk about theater of the mind. Okay.
Yeah, you've known Allan for so long. If you can think it, Allan can get it done.
Okay. All right. So this is worth seeing. So, well, one great thing about Tim, he always compliments you. He makes you feel good, and he works in a shameless plug. So how do people, when do people need to tune in? Because we want them to listen to this. It's kind of a crossover show.
We start at 12, but the fun with Allan starts at 12:30 today.
Okay.
I can't guarantee all your hopes and dreams will come true, but I also can't guarantee that they won't today on Buy Sell or Stay. But here's the thing, though, guys. If we get to this and you like this, then Joe, my thinking is I'll get another kit to unbox, and you and I will do one on the show a little bit later on in the winter.
Well, and Tim, we got to get you on the show. We need to turn the News Talk 98.9 The Roar's studios more into kind of like the Justice League, where you might have Batman and Superman going on an adventure, or Wonder Woman and Hawk Girl, or so. So we need to cross pollinate a little more. So.
Yeah. I don't know what my superpower would be unless it's having to, I measure once and cut twice. That's a problem for me. Maybe my superpower is I let the other people fix what I break. So,
okay.
I don't know,
Tim. All right. So unboxing with Allan Gilbreth happening later today. So, hey, Tim, we got to let you go, man. The clock waits for nobody. So thanks for checking in, brother. Yeah, you never know. You never know around here who's going to check in. Hey, Larry, real quick, we don't want to run out of time before we tell people once again. Do we have time to do your specials real quick?
Sure, man. So we got some specials today for the show. We're offering for a new Trane heating and cooling system, 24-month no interest on a new Trane heating and cooling system, free 10-year parts warranty, free programmable thermostat, and a free media filters included in that purchase. We're also offering $100 off on our Remy Halo products and $100 off on our duct cleaning. So if you're interested, give us a call, 901-362-1881, or you can check us out on the web at brownref.com, or you can check us out on Facebook. So love to hear from you.
Yeah, it's always fun having you in, Larry. I always learn a lot, and it's I'm sure the listeners are too. So, but it's still amazing though. HVAC units are modern day magic. I think
they truly are.
All right, well, we hear the music. We know what's going on. We're out of time. So it's been another action-packed episode of Tool Talk Radio, but it's in the can. So on behalf of my buddy Allan Gilbreth and our pal Max over there behind the glass, and our pal Larry Brown with Brown Refrigeration, I'm Joe Thorderson. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week.